You all have seen my music go on television shows. It's been used by the NBA, NFL, ESPN, countless places. And the way that happened was through a moment of vulnerability. Let me tell you. So I was going through a season where I wanted to get off the road and not travel as much because I wanted to be home with my kids. And I remember going to LA and I had to cut a verse for the 116 Christmas song with Wande and 1K Few. I'm hanging out with my homeboy Alex Hitchens and I told him, I was like, man, bro, like I'm struggling. Like I miss my family. Like it was a very vulnerable moment. I was like, I would love to get into producing music for ESPN and the NBA. And you know what Alex told me? He said, bro, why didn't you say something a long time ago? I've been had that plug. You know that I would do that all the time. That moment of vulnerability opened up an opportunity for me to do what I'm doing to this day. With my level of success, it'd have been really easy for me to pretend like I didn't need anything. But it was my vulnerability that actually opened the doors. A lot of times we think being vulnerable is a sign of weakness, but it's actually a sign of strength and intelligence. It's the vulnerable people that are able to say, I don't really care about my reputation as much as I care about being honest. It's the vulnerable people that are self-aware enough to know where their strengths and their weaknesses lie. Another reason why you should be vulnerable is because it's the key to connection. If you want to have friends, the only way to do that is they have to know who you are. And not the fake, curated social media version of who you are, but the actual, real version of who you are. Another reason you should be vulnerable is because it allows you to be an inspiration. What you'll find is the more vulnerable you are, the more you'll realize that you're not alone and that you actually have value to bring to the table. But if you don't tell your story, if you're not honest about who you are, it's going to be really hard to inspire anyone. And the last reason why I think we should be vulnerable is because it allows people to support you and actually help you. A lot of us feel we're alone and no one wants to help us. And it's not necessarily because that's the truth. We don't want to tell people the real. We don't want to be honest. And they have the assumption that everything is fine. So here's some steps to be more vulnerable. Number one, you have to remember you're not alone. Reject the idea that you're the only one that's dealing with what you're dealing with. Somebody has went through something very similar and they want to help you. Number two, I would say start small. You don't have to give the deepest, darkest secret that you have, but find a safe place and then start with revealing small parts of yourself and see how people deal with that. Ultimately, being vulnerable is just the ability to be honest about your story. And when we're all honest about our story, that's how you build community.